Morency Unfiltered on the Fantasy Sports Network continues. Let's talk some AFL football. And then there were three. As the Sydney Swans were actually favored before the playoffs started. They were plus 200. The Hawthorn Hawks, the evil empire of the AFL, have been eliminated. The Geelong Cats are the latest victims to bite the dust. So the Sydney Swans now await the winner of Great Western Sydney and the Western Bulldogs. Myk Aussie steps up and in, our AFL tipster. Myk, it's always a pleasure. How you doing?
Yeah, thanks, man. Great recap. And yeah, what a game last night. The Swans were underdogs, but the Cats, I don't know, mate, that extra week off can sometimes be detrimental because football players are creatures of habit, as you know, and the skill level's so high these days. Maybe the Cats were slightly off and the Swans were in form and rolled the Cats. So, yeah, it could be a all-Sydney grand final in Melbourne. That would send the Victorians crazy, mate.
and you know, Myk, I remember about 2 months ago, actually, you brought it up. You said this Sydney team actually could win it all. I mean, they're not an historical powerhouse, but they're a young and hungry team, and here they are right now, Myk. They made it to the final.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. They were one of my two teams I thought would make the playoffs when I was in studio with you at the start of the year. They came into the league in 2012. Yeah, sure, they got some preference with draft picks and so forth, but they got smashed for the first year. Fantastic to see them. Kevin Sheedy was the founder out there, legend Aussie football coach and player, so great to see the Giants in there, and they may win it as well. So, like I said, an all-Sydney grand final in Melbourne would be the equivalent of, say, the Blue Jays playing the Expos. I mean, the Expos are not in now, but if the Blue Jays and the Expos had to play the MLB final in Washington or New York or something, that's how crazy it might be next week if the Giants do win.
All right, you know, I'm disappointed the season's coming to an end. We had a great year, Myk. Like the totals, the playoffs, I've been on fire, man. Absolute fire. So we look to keep it rolling right now. And I look at this game, Myk, and my initial gut instinct tells me that 21.5 points is too high. You know, Great Western Sydney are favored by 21.5 against the Western Bulldogs, Giants, Bulldogs, and the total is a little bit too low. We know that Great Western Sydney, one of the highest scoring teams in the league, these guys put up like over 100 points a game, 107 to be exact. Western slowed down a little bit, but they've been putting up points in the playoffs. You know, Western's playing, they're playing good football right now, Myk. I think this point spread's a little bit high. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you, mate. It started at 14.5, went to 18.5, so it's up higher. But the Bulldogs can win, mate. So I'd like the Giants to probably win, but I would take the Bulldogs on the plus on that one. They're in form. They haven't been in a premiership. They haven't been in a grand final since 1961 or something like that. They're a western suburbs team of Melbourne. They survived. Good luck to them. They're a lot of young kids, so both teams, young kids, future's great for both teams. Should be an absolute ripper. It's in Sydney. It is an advantage, of course. But hey, the extra week off might be detrimental to the Giants, like it was the Cats. The Bulldogs are on a roll, mate, and like I said, you keep playing each week, it helps. But hey, it's good to rest some injuries, but these athletes are so fit now. I think the extra week off is not good, and Bulldogs can win this.
Yeah, you know, and anytime you got a chance, you're right, Myk. Look at the money line. Great Western Sydney, they're 21.5 point favorites, but the odds makers aren't stupid. It's only minus 260 on the money line. You take the Western Bulldogs plus 225 only on the money line. You know, what are the odds makers telling us here? They're like, Western can actually win this game. You know, plus 225, that's like 7 points in an NFL football game, guys. So, you know, the point spread and the money line don't correlate here because I think the odds makers know that the public's going to jump in on the Giants in this game because of the history. But I got to take the dog here, Myk. I'm with you. I think the Giants probably get by here. I'll say the Giants win by like 8 to like 12, 8 to 14 points, but not 21.5. I'm going Western Bulldogs plus 21.5 over 168.5.
Yeah, I like it. And Kev, my dad, my informant, like I said, I make that phone call each Thursday to get that extra bit of advice, and he likes the Giants only just as well. But, hey, a lot of the Dogs have won in these playoffs, mate. More Dogs have won than the favourites, I'm sure of that. So it should be an absolute ripper again.
All right, Mick, we got 1 minute, literally and figuratively. Your Denver Broncos keep dodging bullets. They got it done last week. I like the Indianapolis Colts to cover the game. They should have covered. It was a bad beat late. But Denver's defense is unbelievable, only giving up 4.4 yards per play. Denver at Cincinnati. Do you think Denver wins again?
Oh, of course I'm going for them. I have to, but yeah, we're in tough, mate. And like, it's only that strip of Andrew Luck last week that got us to cover the spread. So of course I like the Broncos, but I reckon my roughie, I got a feeling the Oakland might beat Tennessee. Jacksonville are a chance. I think Washington should come good, but mate, I killed it on your fantasy last night. I got 50 points alone just from the Patriots defense, LeGarrette, the smoking, hitting Blunt, and Edelman. So I'm on fire this week on your NFL fantasy. So looking to go 3-0 in that, mate. A lot of fun.
Great start, 50 points from one game. Great production. We got to get out of here, Mick. Thanks for the time. Next week, Mick will be on Game Time Decisions, as it is the AFL Grand Finale Championship game. Mick, always a pleasure. Thanks.
All right, have a great weekend, guys. See you later.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back and wrap things up on Morency Unfiltered.